It's the midweek edition of Business Morning. Good morning and welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwagu. This morning we saw the oil prices steady after sliding to their lowest in 4 years, sapped by fears for fuel demand and the global economy amid travel and social lockdowns triggered by the coronavirus epidemic in a number of countries around the world. Brent crude traded at $28.81 a barrel in early trade after falling earlier to $28.40, the lowest since early 2016. The international benchmark fell 4.3% on Tuesday. Our U.S. crude was down 2 cents at $26.93 a barrel after falling to as low as $26.20, also the lowest in 4 years. West Texas Intermediate fell 6% on Tuesday. A fall in U.S. inventories of crude, gasoline and distillates are reported by an industry group provided some support to prices, but the demand outlook looks grim amid a price war among major producers. In efforts to support economies, the world's richest nations prepared to unleash trillions of dollars of spending to lessen the fallout from the coronavirus outbreak, as well as imposing social restrictions not seen since World War II. Meanwhile, Iraq's oil minister has pleaded for an emergency meeting between members of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and non-OPEC producers to discuss immediate action to help balance the oil market. And in the meantime, the Presidential Advisory Council has warned about the dire economic consequences for Nigeria if the coronavirus outbreak is not contained as quickly as possible. The council, which met with the President, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, said one of the immediate consequences, as shown in the crash of crude oil prices, was slower economic growth, adding that confidence in the economy would also be eroded. The council also urged the president to consider immediate cuts in the budget and says ultimately Nigeria risks receding into another recession if concrete measures were not evolved to stabilize its economy. Well, joining me now to make a sense of all of these is the CEO, GDL Asset Management, Kola Ayeye. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Ayeye.
Thank you for having me.
Now, are you worried Nigeria in particular might be getting into a recession again?
The signs call for a lot of concern. We all know that oil is our major source of export revenue, and when we are below $30, that is quite worrisome. There is a chance that revenues could reduce to a point where economic growth becomes negative and we will find ourselves in a technical recession. It is possible.
Now, what do you make of the move by the federal government to suspend the planned $22.7 billion external borrowing and, of course, the Eurobond offer?
I think even without the crash in oil prices, there are concerns in several quarters about the propriety of such a huge foreign currency loan. So, though the oil crash is bad in several respects, if it is what has triggered the recall or the stop in the borrowing, maybe that's one of the very few good things about it. I am one of those who think that that move to take such a large loan strictly for infrastructure is not well thought out. I don't think we should take a loan that huge in foreign currency because it's almost predictable that it will get us into a debt trap and we'll find it very difficult to service.
Now, the government says it will suspend all non-critical government spending and, of course, have stopped government officials from travels. But aside from travels, what other things do you consider non-critical?
Well, the issue is when you have a $57 benchmark for the budget and the price as we speak is below $30 and people are saying it will fall to 20, the things you need to deal with are not only non-critical. You have to deal with critical expenditure. Even before the crash in oil prices, supporting the budget and achieving the capital expenditure required two important things on the revenue side: significant growth in tax revenues and a lot of borrowing. So right now, it's not only that we need to suspend non-critical items. I think that there needs to be a moratorium on capital expenditure. The capital expenditure that we have to fund now, we need to be extremely selective and extremely choosy. We shouldn't wait until the price becomes $20 and states are having problems in paying salaries before we suspend some things to try and build some buffers. Because currently we no longer have any buffers. You know, I forget the name of this account where currencies are where excess savings are stored. A lot of it is down. You know, so I think beyond non-critical expenditure like travels, you actually have to say now that except it is absolutely impossible not to do some capex, I think right now we need to save so that we can keep our head above water and continue paying salaries for as long as possible. Because the last time, a few years ago, when President Buhari came in and the oil price was this low, you remember many states had to go to the federal government for bailout.
Now, in the light of these fallen oil prices, what other alternatives are there for funding the budget?
You can't have a monocultural economy and not save in the good days without paying a huge price. We are going to pay a price for our profligacy. There is no way out of that. It's bad enough that we've been a crude oil economy for over 30 years, trying to diversify without success. But it's worse that when oil price is 100, 80, 70, we haven't saved. There is no, I mean, if you earn money and you don't save and your revenues collapse, you're going to face the consequences. You know, I think the thing to do is let's moderate and defer capital expenditure as much as we can. Let us start to save the little we can, and we can only hope that this doesn't last too long. But that if oil prices remain at this level, or even fall, or worse still fall to 20, we have not provided ourselves options. The only option we had was to build buffers. We didn't. We'll pay the price now.
So do you see the need to domesticate government borrowing at the moment as against piling further external debt?
You are right on the money. The reason why I do not support the foreign currency loan is that foreign currency loans are not payable in local currency. If you take a $22 billion loan, whether it's 30 years, whether it's 50 years, whether it's subsidized loans, you must earn the foreign currency with which to pay it. A country that, such as ours, should not be taking that large amount of foreign currency loans. So government expenditure should preferably be funded out of revenue. If it's not out of revenue, out of savings. If it's not out of savings, out of domestic borrowing. But to bloat foreign debt, I think is setting the economy up for a debt trap. I don't know if I can recall, there was a period of almost 25 years after the oil crisis in the mid-80s, when Nigeria was in a debt trap, we could not service foreign debt. Foreign currency lines were withdrawn from all banks. Every letter of credit issued from Nigeria had to be 100% cash backed. My fear is that large foreign currency loans will get us back into that trap. So I agree with you, we should domesticate our debt. But beyond domesticating our debt, what we can't afford should position the economy to attract foreign investment, to fund both expenditure and private sector growth. It's not that things like rail are not compelling, but with foreign currency loans, it is unaffordable. You don't do everything that is compelling if you can't afford it. Yes, we must do rail, but let's find a structure where foreign investment can come in and do it. And that foreign investment must be.
Okay, now not all revenue sources of government are still not strong, despite the rhetorics from the fiscal authorities. Now, what ingenious ways can be deployed to improve this? And do you think this can salvage the current shock on the 2020 budget?
You know, we must put the situation of the economy in proper context. Indeed, the tax revenues of government are seen to be low and need to grow. That's true on the one hand, but on the other hand, you must recognize that almost 100 million Nigerians are said to be living below the poverty line. When people are living below the poverty line, the scope for taxing those people is very limited. So we need to understand that there are a large bracket of Nigerians who are living from hand to mouth, and for those people, tax can be very anti-progressive. However, in terms of improving what comes into the tax net, we must find ways to ensure that the rich pay much more of their share. I also heard the Honorable Minister of Works and Housing indicate that government may lease vacant houses all across the country. Government doesn't have to lease it, but government can put in measures that ensures that when the rich invest in idle assets, rather than assets which can benefit the country, so you invest in houses that people don't need, that people are not living in, there should be ways, policies that compel you to make those houses available for people. You know, so we should have measures that bring the rich into the tax net to pay some more than what they are paying. But the growth in tax revenues is going to be gradual. I don't think it can be steep because half of the population lacks the capacity to pay taxes.
Okay, now, last week, credit rating agency Fitch disclosed its plans to downgrade Nigeria's sovereign rating from B+ to negative if the constant attempt by the country to defend the naira, despite the continuous decline in crude oil prices, eats into the nation's external reserves, which is at about $36 billion now. Now, do you see Fitch eventually downgrading Nigeria's credit ratings?
Let's not speculate, but let us say that the rating agency is doing its job. If a mono-product economy is facing reduced revenues, large fiscal deficits, and a number of other things that they find concerning about how we are managing things, the signal is appropriate. What we should focus on is that the facts are what they are. We should do what we can, the best that we can, to manage the situation. Let me say this. It's not out of place for the central bank to do the best that it can to keep exchange rate stable. Where I differ from my colleagues always talk about the need for the currency to float. And if I have a little time, I'll give you an experience I had just a couple of weeks ago. I have a friend who already had an arrangement with the South African partners to invest in a rollout of some business across the country so that it cannot be traced to him. I won't mention the type of business. But after the 2016 devaluation, they had done only 2 or 3 locations. They suspended it because of devaluation. You see, when we say, as soon as we say that the currency must find its value, which is true, we must also say that a stable currency is good. Because when people come in to buy blocks and invest in factories, which is going to take them several years to recover, they like stable currencies. The people who don't mind about the currency going down are the portfolio investors. So it's not bad that a central bank feels a need to defend the currency, but a time comes when it can no longer defend it, and the currency will then find its level. Central Bank has told us that before the reserves fall below 30, when the reserves fall below $30 million and oil falls below 45, those are their triggers. We've already passed one of the triggers, that's 45. We are still at 36, and we could easily get to 30. But all of us should see the states in a stable currency, but accept that if the currency must go down at a point, it would. The way the market fundamentals are with the oil price, the pressure is on the currency. CBN should keep trying to defend it. A time will come when, if they can't hold it anymore, it will be obvious to everybody.
So you are supporting the CBN's position that the situation at present now does not call for devaluation of the naira?
I don't think we should hurry to devalue. I agree that we should not hurry to devalue, but we should acknowledge, while CBN is right that we should not hurry to devalue, we should acknowledge that the oil price is a major signal that puts us under pressure.
Okay, now, as part of his efforts to cushion the effect of the coronavirus, on Monday, the central bank announced some kind of stimulus package. Are these enough? And do you see the MPC doing more next week when they meet?
One of the things that needs to happen in our country is for us to know that CBN manages the monetary side of things. They don't manage the fiscal side of things. They don't manage the entire country. I think it's nice that CBN proactively came up with a number of measures. But when you look at those measures are to moderate the impact on businesses, to help households who may be impacted. That is one side of it. It's commendable. But the other side of it is that there is need for coordination. Those measures will come in after we have suffered the impact of high infection rates, high disease rates, and high business shutdown rates. But there is need for the agencies that are charged with doing their best to prevent us from getting there, to coordinate with CBN. What is much more important at this stage is how do we ensure that this infection does not spread, particularly when it appears that the tropics is not friendly to it. CBN has said if businesses get into trouble, this is what banks should do, this is what CBN should do. That's very good. But what do we do to ensure that we moderate the rate of infection? That requires collaboration. So if CBN is saying we want to fund healthcare, for example, so can we coordinate with the health sector where we are looking at maybe we can import a lot of test kits from South Korea, which appears to have been able to contain the disease very well. So I think that the CBN on its monetary part has done what is cool, but it's not nearly enough for the country. What is much more important is to try and see that we test and we prevent this from spreading.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Kola Ayeye. He is the CEO of GDO Asset Management. Thank you for your time there. Well, when Business Morning returns, experts are talking about commodities trading ecosystem as a panacea for economic diversification. We'll also drill down some of the corporate earnings. Do stay with us.